Hey humans, so we're in a hotel in Weston and we're going to interview a guy called JPS, local street artist. We're just going to ask him some questions and go with the flow. So thanks for joining us today.
No problem.
It's a pleasure. So first I want you to introduce yourself properly, tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, well, basically my name's Jamie Paul Scanlon. I'm a street artist, goes by the name JPS, born and bred in Weston-super-Mare, and just still doing what I do. I started doing it in 2009 and now 7 years I've been at it.
That's cool. That's cool. That's quite a while.
Yeah, it doesn't feel long ago I started.
Which brings me to my first real question. Can you tell us a little bit about your art?
Yeah, I try and make my pieces so that they don't concentrate on current affairs.
Okay.
Because then they have no lastability. That's how I see it.
Makes sense.
And basically, a lot of my work in the earlier days was dark, reflecting from my past and kind of maybe flushing out a few demons.
Good.
Lately, it's, it flicks between the two still.
You're growing. We see growth.
I think over time I'll get to be more friendlier, but I think in general a lot of it is nicer than it used to be. And I try and bring a smile to people's faces opposed to shock factor, and I don't know enough about politics and stuff to do political pieces and then try, because sometimes they can bring a lot of problems to you, how, justify this.
Okay.
And you might think, oh yeah, you might not have deep enough reasons to justify that, and then pick holes through you and rip you apart on it. Banksy, that might be why he keeps his identity secret, because of his bravery in tackling such subjects.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So you said some of your first stuff was quite dark, associated with your past. So let's move on and let's grow. Where does your inspirations for your work come from now? Where do you find it in?
Well, when I was younger, I used to stay in a lot, drawing a lot, but I was very into my American films and various stuff from the 80s. And I think because of then later on kind of losing 12 years memory in a way, when I started doing the art, everything that I've been inspired by was kind of a little bit back in the past.
Okay.
I kind of missed this 2000 till 2009 completely.
You just caught up when you could.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Can you remember your first piece of work you sprayed on a wall?
Yes. Yeah.
Can?
I had to think for a second.
That's good.
One of my friends was tragically murdered in Weston.
Oh.
His name was Darren Plumley, and
I've seen the work.
it happened a few months before I'd gone to see Banksy's show in 2009. So it was New Year's Day, the early hours of morning 2009 that it happened. And so when I went to see Banksy's show and I obviously was studying the technique, I then cut a portrait of him down the pub on a table with an old rusty scalpel, and I will put my hands to it. I had to get a spray can, and I put about 70 of them around Weston, you see, on his funeral day.
Oh.
And it was in the paper and that, and I was pretty worried because it wasn't a very neat stencil. It was prolifically done, broad daylight cameras, very emotional day,
Yeah.
So,
you had to get it out though.
yeah, but luckily the papers reported it as a tribute to a very popular local young man.
That's a really nice thing to do.
They were like, it could be seen on Orchard Street, Meadow Street, and no.
Did you realise it would be that big?
No, it was literally a tribute. So because with him, you used to see him all around town all the time. He was like one of those faces you just see every day. So I figured that putting his face everywhere, we'd still see his face every day.
That's a nice thing to do.
It lasted for a while, There's still the odd couple of them left.
I think there is. I think I can see it
but
being.
not many considering the amount I actually put out in that day. Somewhat, you'd say about 15 probably got painted over within a week, and
It went on from there. Knock-on effect.
I was surprised my first one grabbed publicity because its quality is embarrassing.
That's funny. Okay, so next question I've got for you is, what do you think your artwork does for Weston?
Well, I already know now what it does for the Weston.
Can you share that with me?
Over, people who've got to know my work within a certain range of the town. Have travelled, you know, from, well, sometimes up to 200 miles down to this area, just on, you know, photographers and stuff, solely to photograph the work. And obviously it gets shared onto massive street art pages, pieces in Weston. One of them got 75,000 likes on the street art globe.
Which one was that? Can you tell me?
Go Yubari with the chain.
Oh yeah, that's it.
On a massive page called Street Art Globe, like 75. And of course this links to Weston.
Yes, it does. You hear that, humans?
So
we're linking it up to Weston.
yeah, and obviously I'm never gonna hide my heritage or say any different, and it's for as long as I can, I will try and keep helping the town and putting more work here. You know,
Brilliant, fantastically answered. So you're part of the Western Street Art Trail, is there?
yeah, that was built on my work.
There we go. No, because I didn't know if there was others incorporated. I've just seen
No,
the titles.
it originally started as my street art trail. There was a couple of rogue artists that thought they could just go put their work onto my walls, and they've since, you know, well, I'm not going to say about it.
So can you tell us a little bit about the street trail? Was it a street art trail?
Yeah, so they realised I'd built up a quantity of work in various locations around the town, and they also realised that people who came down for Dismaland were starting to go around the town trying to find what JPS is, where are the rest of his works, asking people in businesses, can I find more of this guy's work, you know, and
That's cool.
and the business owners must have just came up with some idea and contacted me and said, do you mind if we make a map of your pieces? And I was like, yeah. So, I mean, when Banksy first done the show, I was like, got it, because he had 50 artists, and I know he knows of me, you know, and I thought,
You hear that, Banksy?
I thought, why aren't I in there? But with Banksy's clever thinking, I was in that show anyway, because he brought them all to Weston, and they all seen my work. I mean, it really helped build my profile. And
does it help build your confidence as well when start people to recognise your work?
It did in the beginning. My head swelled rapid, you know, if I'm honest, and
You're now. We all have
over time you learn to shut up and you become a bit more humble to it. People put you in your place in the end.
Good.
You know.
And that's what we like to see. We like to see the growth in people.
Yeah, yeah. So it's yeah.
Okay, let's get to the next question then. So a Western school. I don't know if is there something your work in a local school?
Yeah, myself and Fawn, who's my student.
Who I've got a question about shortly.
Yeah,
actually,
she's got a lot of work there as well. Milton Park, because I'd done the big dinosaur piece, it's near the sort of road at the bottom of the school.
Okay.
The caretaker had only ever seen this piece, but he wanted to arrange a surprise to the kids who all loved it as well. That he'd unlock the building on the weekend and I'd just go in there and blitz it. So there's loads.
Okay.
There's loads in there. Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, I could at a later date organise it, because obviously during school hours and cameras aren't allowed in the school, you never really get much feedback from it, but they're all around the corridors. There's massive full-size Robocop in their school.
That's nice. It's nice for the kids to see some sort of art in a graffiti or a...
Apparently they absolutely were over the moon. There's some kids have kind of adopted the pieces and are there with their toys, and you know, they were dragging their parents in the school, you know, Mummy, Daddy, come look at these, and there is plans. I haven't got back to them lately because I've been sorting myself back out, so if they watch this, they know.
In your own time.
And also the weather hasn't been good, because I don't want them spray painting indoors, but I'm actually going to do some workshops with the kids there.
I love that.
Soon I do a bit of teaching.
Fantastic. Okay, so we're aware that you have a massive amount of followers. I've checked your page out. I filtered through it really quickly. So let's just reword the question. How much of your work do you thank for your followers making you so big? Obviously, I see a lot of people sharing your work.
Yeah, the followers are a big part of it. I'm pretty lazy not bothering sending my work out, because I think if it's good enough, you shouldn't have to shove it down everyone's throat all day long, you know, just try and save that time just for thinking of a better idea rather than sending rubbish out all day long, you know. So they tend to be the ones that will share your work on, or if they see it uncredited and that, they'll be having to go at the pages, this is by JPS, this is by JPS.
Oh, that's nice.
This is bad sport, why don't you credit him? And
those followers got your back,
yeah.
Good
So,
for them.
to me, I've got used to not being credited. You know,
Okay.
it's the main thing is that it's being seen. You know, my work gets photographed a lot more times than I'm ever aware, but most of it gets hashtag Banksy.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, but then some people, not all of them get spotted, but the more followers that recognise my work, the more people that get told not Banksy, hashtag JPS.
That's funny. You hear that?
I'm getting alerted all the time to
Okay, so I got another question here about does your work get recognition? You've answered that. So what was your original aim when you set out to paint on the wall? We talked about your friend. So
Yeah, my original aim was after my friend Darren died in the January, another one of my friends died in late June that year,
Crikey.
on the same day as my cousin,
Oh.
you see. And I'd already been sober for about a month at that point, and was tagged in my demons, but 2 deaths in a day was a little bit,
man down.
yeah, and it really did. Dom took me to Eminem's concert in 2003, so I like bleached my hair blonde for his funeral and that, and I was actually out for 4 days after his funeral in my suit, and my mum kicked me out, and that's when I really went through what seemed like a long period, but it must have only been a couple of months of literally trying to kill myself, you know, and that's when I ended up living on the roof of the abandoned hotel, and I was actually going to jump off one morning, like, you know. I thought to myself, it's easy to join your friends, you know, just carry on drinking every morning, robbing the shops, and, you know, and living like this, in places like this, you're gonna soon follow them, you know. But why not do the hardest thing and try and become one of the best? So they'll remember you, you know. And one day I'll be able to pay tribute to the lads. They were talented as well, you know, but they just never got a chance to get out.
So you then needed on to do more work?
Yeah, so the motivation then was to try and get clean and try and show all the people that thought I was just scum of the earth, that people can change, and that, you know, that I'm trying to replace the bad things I've done, you know, by giving as much good back as I can.
You've done really well. That's really good. Well done. Okay, so we'll bring it back up now. One thing I do want to ask you about, you mentioned Fawn. I had the pleasure of meeting Fawn when I covered the Burnbeck painting day.
Yeah.
Yes, I did meet Fawn and she did name drop you, so we've been looking forward to having you here as well. So tell me a bit about Fawn. How did that come about?
I first met Fawn in 2014.
Uh-huh.
I think she was 40, just coming up 15, something like that. But she was interested in this piece of work in my show that I wasn't even really selling. It's just like filling in a space. It was awful. It had mud all on the back of it, and she's like, "How much for that piece?" And I'm like, went around the back and everything, and I came back, I was like, "You can have it for 80 quid. And most things in the show were like £500, so I was being reasonable, but it cleaned out all her money and that, and I was around the back getting all the crap off the back, bagged it up for her, and then she added me on Facebook, and she done a GCSE project based on me. And yeah,
What are the chances?
and there would be loads of little photos where her mum would have to take her to all my work, you see. It's a proper fan, like.
Wow,
So,
that's good.
but she's also a little artist, and as I seen from her project and that, she was like, "Do you need an apprentice?" And I was like, "Well, I haven't even really got a studio. I'm not some big rich artist who can afford to employ people, you know. I go, maybe by summer we might be able to do something, you know." This was in the January of 2015 last year. I said maybe in the summer and that, and then we carried on communicating, and her mum wanted to buy this Leaning Jackson stone I done, and they came down to Weston, and I don't know, I just decided that day, after talking to her mum for a bit and meeting Fawn again and that, I thought, sod it, I'm going to teach you, because I wasn't keen on teaching any again, you know, because sometimes they're not doing it for the right reasons. I had to be sure that if I was going to take someone on under my wing again, that they weren't just going to hurt my feelings later on, you know. So I decided, right, I'm going to give you a shot. And now she's quite good, you know.
She is. She's very popular, isn't she?
You know, I give her little helps where I need to make sure that she's going to represent. But she's only young, and you know, I kind of look at her in like my little sister, protective, try and keep an eye out for her, and what's a very hard game as well. So I try and, you know, keep up me and Fawn's Elysian strong. You know, she hasn't offended me ever.
Passing down the line.
Yeah. Another good artist I want to name drop from Weston, who was inspired by me, is one called d-nek. You would have seen some of his work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's one to watch. He's talented.
Tell us about him. Tell us.
I had to paint a cat on his house for a surprise for his wife.
Ah.
It turned out that he's a very talented carpenter and woodcutter and stuff. So he already had a very artistic element, but he's got his kids. He doesn't go out. He's got his wife, and when he seen how I was working while I was doing the job for him, it obviously sort of gave him enough idea that maybe he could do it, you know. And the good thing is he started it, and he gives me props and says, you know, if it wasn't for JPS, I wouldn't be doing it. And he's a nice bloke, so I look forward to seeing how he progresses, you know. And Weston needs more of it, so he's local as well. He's bound well, so.
We support that. We support the local humans. Okay, so I think that's enough questions.
Yeah.
But what I do want to quickly ask you is if there's any other aspects of your work or words you'd like to say to the humans of Weston before we wrap it up today.
Don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs. Stay at school and paint some art.
What would I say to the people of Weston? Well, I'd say that we have a lovely town, especially in summer and that. We have to move with the times and embrace things like street art, which thankfully a lot of Western people have done, and I hope to keep bringing more to the town, and I hope to keep the continued support from you all.
Fantastic. We support you on that, brother. Thank you ever so much for joining us today. I think that's everything.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure.
Been a pleasure.
Well done, well done. You did really well.
Job done.
That's a wrap.